From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 144 of the Blind Android Users podcast. We've reached the end of the 12 times table. I'm Ed Green, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts Warren Carr, Austin Pinto, Doug Cameron, John Dyer, and Sally Kunders. And we are coming to you on Saturday, the 9th of September, 2023. In this episode, we have our usual announcement section. In Android Basics, we continue our series on One UI, and Warren shows us how to manage the home screen. We have an unboxing for the Spotlight section this week from Bernard Hemmings, who unboxes his Samsung Galaxy XCover6 Pro. In our App of the Week, Warren demonstrates the app WebApp. And in our commentary segment, Karene Kiwan talks about navigation settings in commentary Jieshuo. Well, hello again. I'm coming to you from a swelteringly hot and sticky London at 32 Celsius or 89 Fahrenheit today with no air conditioning. It's not pleasant, but here I am. It's all good. Warren, how are you?
I'm doing good. And you know what, Ed? We need to take you out of the swamps there. You know, you're in London, you get all that humidity. And boy, at 89 degrees, I don't know. That probably is even hotter than Louisiana or somewhere down in the bayous. I don't know. But we've got to get you out of the swamps for a change. I'm doing well, bro.
It's certainly humid. Yes, London can be relied on for that. Not much fun. John Boy, how are you?
I'm doing good. It was storming pretty good here, but it seems to be letting up right now. So hopefully it'll cool down after the thunderstorms roll through.
Yeah, we need one of those. Glad you're doing well. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing good, but actually last week it was a very sad thing after the podcast that the match got cancelled, but no problem. We are playing again tomorrow, India versus Pakistan, and the rains have returned back. So Mumbai is nice and cool now. So if London is very hot, then you can come to Mumbai.
Excellent. I'll do that. And will it get rained off again tomorrow, or are we all right, do you think?
I don't know. We are playing in Colombo again, so there are very high chances of rain.
Oh, dear. One of only 2 cities with 3 test match playing grounds, I think, Colombo. You being in the other one.
In India, there are a lot of test playing grounds. So I don't know why they're not playing the Asia Cup in India. It's either Kandy or Colombo.
Yeah, they definitely should. It's good for Sri Lanka to host it, though. I guess fairly compact to get around as well.
Yeah.
Now, tell me something. Is Colombo named after Columbus because he thought he was going to India, wound up here in the Western Hemisphere, and so they kind of decided maybe to name a city after him, Colombo? I'm kind of curious. Is that what that is?
I don't know.
I don't know. That is in Sri Lanka, so I don't know anything of why it was named.
I'm very glad he didn't make GPS software. It wouldn't be very good, would it?
Yeah, he didn't have GPS.
Yeah, instead of reaching UK, we will reach maybe some other country.
Can you imagine what his flight plans would be like if he was a pilot?
Yeah.
He'll wind up in the Pacific, running out of fuel.
To go to the North Pole, fly south.
Yeah. Just think if he'd gone the right way, history could have been very different.
Exactly.
Yeah, then history could have been different.
Yeah. Doug, what's happening?
Not much. Starting to cool off up here, so it's kind of more like fall, and it's pretty nice. So I'm kind of liking it.
Good. And Sally, how are the Yanak?
Well, Yanaks are doing well, but this is the moment that I hate the most because there are international breaks. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hate it. Boring.
So boring. And yesterday Turkey played versus Armenia, and it's 1-1. No winning, no losing. It's a bad score. When is England going to play?
tonight. It's on now against Ukraine, but I don't bother watching international football, really.
It's
I only watch the club.
And one another thing is, today we got the best weather comparing to yours. It's 24 degrees, or let's say 75 Fahrenheit. I think that's very good.
Oh, that's
I'm
nice.
enjoying this weather. And let's say congrats for the new school year, because back to school starts for those kids listening to us, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, ours started on Tuesday. The teachers had 6 weeks off, so obviously they couldn't possibly start the week on Monday. Needed that extra day. But yeah, back in school, which is good.
Yeah, ours have been in school now. This was their second week, so next week is the third week.
Yep.
Yeah.
On Monday in Turkey, it's going to start. So yeah, most of Europe, I guess, the same.
Nice.
This is the announcement segment of Blind Android Users podcast. Stay tuned to hear important information regarding the podcast, surveys, and the latest news.
Well, let's turn to our announcement section. Austin, do you have anything for us?
There are no announcements, but I think Android 14 has released another beta, and I don't know what version is it.
It's 5.3, I think.
The person running that project should be fired because, I mean, this has been the worst experience.
The worst. Yeah.
Really. I'm not kidding here, guys. We are in September, having a beta in September. It has never happened.
And 5 beta, it's
Warren, you
too
just
much.
want somebody to get fired because you lost your bet.
Well, it's not because I lost my bet. I'm following what Google initially said. We conclude the beta in July. Now, so they've belied what they said. And frankly, whoever was in charge of this Android 14 project should be fired.
I have to say there were some hilarious bug fixes in this. I was looking at the notes, and one of them said that on the Fold, if you interacted with it, the taskbar occasionally became invisible. That must have been really annoying.
Yeah. Well, and they leave that to the Fold and the tablet. They're the ones messing us up.
Yeah, but you're looking at your taskbar like, oh, it's just literally vanished. That must be quite annoying.
That would be insanely annoying.
Yeah.
That made me
Or
smile.
sometimes the home screen will disappear, giving you a blank, all icons gone. Baby gone.
Yeah.
I think it's a magical taskbar.
So what was the wind up I heard that you should do? It was a home screen disappearing. It was the reverse, I think, that I heard about. You put a screenshot of someone's desktop in full screen in Microsoft Word and have it auto start for them, and then they think that their computer's frozen because their desktop is up, but they can't click on anything. I can't remember what it was. It was something like that.
Was
really annoy
the
someone.
prank. Yeah.
Yeah. I did like that.
Oh my goodness.
Sort of thing I'd do. The other thing as well, just to say from last week, again, if you haven't yet checked out Accessible Android, it's really quick, optimized for Android 13, and link will be in the show notes, so another chance. Well, you can do it whenever you like, obviously, but another reminder to do that.
Gonna get 4 times, yeah.
4 times for the 4-speed incremental.
Yeah, sure.
For each increase, and then 1 for Android 13 support.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent.
You're listening to the Blind Android Users podcast.
This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
Well, now we turn to Android Basics, and this week we continue our look at One UI. And to kick us off, Warren is going to show us how to manage various aspects of One UI's home screen.
I will be utilizing my Galaxy S21 in showing you how to manage the home screen on your Samsung running One UI 5.x. In this, we'll be looking at things like creating folders, adding things to the folder, setting home screen defaults, and things like that. Now, because The current version of TalkBack that we have coming from Samsung does not support actions in the sense of the word, whereby one could use the actions in doing things. We'll be doing things a little bit differently, but whether you have the version that supports actions or not, the steps I'm going to show you here will still suffice. So first, though, I'm on my home screen as I indicated. And of course, the home screen 1 is my default. Now, let's get familiar with the layout of the home screen. Of course, all of your apps are there. So you got like 4 icons on a row. And yours may be different, but that's what I have on my S21. And it could be because it's a smaller phone. Anyway, so I got that, and I have a bunch of rows on my phone and then pages and things like that. Now, toward the bottom, of course, we have the dock at the very bottom, and you can add things and remove things from the dock. At the very bottom of my dock, I got
Phone, out of pager.
Starting from the bottom left, I've got phone. Going right,
My apps.
I got something called My Apps, basically a shortcut from the Google Play that when I tap on it, it takes me straight to the updates and things like that. And then to the right of that,
Password manager.
I've got the Password Manager coming from Google, Password Manager, and the last item on my bottom right here
Camera.
is the Camera app. Now, there's in between this and the last row of icons. For example, the last row of the icons on this home page, I got starting from the left
Pocket casts, in pager.
to the right,
Telegram, 44 notifications.
to the right,
Naveen.
and the last item on the right
Wave editor.
is Wave Editor. Now, nestled in between this last row of icons and the dock at the very bottom are little icons that says page 1, page 2, depending on how many pages you have, including the discovery page. They're kind of very hard to find. Now, if you like to swipe, you can swipe and get through those. For example, if I swipe right,
Google Discover, out of pager.
we hear Google Discover. And if I swipe right, it should say page 1.
Page 1 of 5, default page.
And it says page 1 of 5, a default page. And of course, if you keep swiping, you'll get to the last one. Now, if you're like me and you're not a swiper, you could just put your finger in the middle there, in between this last bottom dock and the last row of icons. And there you'll encounter that as well. I'll put my finger down and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Page 2 of 5.
My finger landed on page 2 of 5. I moved
Page
to the right.
3 of 5. Page
See?
4 of 5.
See?
Page 5 of 5. Current
There we
page is
go.
last page.
So if I tap on one of these, it should take me straight to that. Or if you want, you could simply swipe from right to left to move through those pages. But that's not the focus of this preamble. The focus, however, is how to manage the home screen. With the One UI, for some reason, it doesn't say home if you encounter an empty space like it would on a Pixel device. So it makes it hard to invoke the actions on a blank screen to manage that home screen, whether you want to remove that home screen or you want to set it as a default. Now, here's a way to do it with the current version of TalkBack, which is version 13.5, that does not support actions. Now, of course, if you're using something like the S23 series and you've signed up for the beta, you will have the version 14 of TalkBack, and that supports the actions. So in the absence of that, we're going to use what works. What you want to do is do a pinching action, that is a pinching gesture. So in other words, put 2 fingers apart and slowly bring them together, and that pinches. And at the bottom, you'll find some things that will make it possible for you to customize the home screen. I will now pinch, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. Because I do not use sounds, you didn't hear a sound. But at the very bottom of your phone, where we saw the dock, now you'll have some icons relating to the home screen management. And if I put my finger just anywhere in the middle of the phone,
Page 1 of 5.
all you're going to hear is the page number that I'm sitting on, but you're not going to hear the icons because they are no longer in focus, even though visually they are there. But the things that have focus, however, will be the icons at the bottom that have replaced that area where the dock was. And here's what I'm talking about, starting from the bottom left, and these icons have to do with the home customization.
Wallpaper and style, button, out of pager.
There we have the wallpaper and style. To the right of that,
Themes, button.
we have themes. Then to the right of that,
Widgets, button.
we've got widgets in the last icon. On the right,
Settings, button.
settings, and this is where you can go in and customize the home settings, whether or not you would like to see the Google Discovery on the left page, or whether or not you would like to see icons get placed on your home screen every time you install an app, that kind of thing. That's where you go to do that kind of management. Now, of course, we can still move from left to right or right to left to move through the pages, or tap on a page to move to that particular page. And for example, if I put my finger down,
Page 5 of 5, current page is last page.
that's page 5. If I tap on that, it will take me to page 5, for example.
Home screen, page 5 of 5.
Home screen, page 5 of 5. Now, there's something I want to mention here, that at the top of the screen, we've got two important buttons. At the very top in the middle, you'll find
Not selected, default page, out of pager.
default page not selected. And in other words, page 5 or home screen 5 is not my default home page. That is, whenever I start my phone, it isn't going to place me on page 5 as my startup page. Now, below that is a button that says remove.
Page 5 of 5, remove, button, in pager.
Is page 5 of 5 remove? If I tap on that, it will remove my page 5 home screen and it will be gone. Now, in the event that you want to add a new page, that number of pages that I showed earlier that is nestled between the dock and the last row of icons, to the right of the last page, in this case, it'll be page 5, home screen 5. To the right of that is an icon that says Add Page. So I'll move my finger to the right,
Add page,
tap here,
add page.
and it has added a page. And if I put my finger in the middle,
Add page, button, in pager.
I find another Add Page. So if I do that, it'll add that page.
Page 5 of 6.
There you go. So it has added a page. Now I have 6 pages. My 6th page, however, is a blank page. So now let's talk about setting home page defaults. So remember earlier I told you that we have something at the top, or 2 buttons at the top. There's a set as default page and then remove a home page. Now, if I want to make the blank page as my startup page, for example, I'll put my finger near the top, find and tap on Set as Default.
Not selected, default page, out of pager.
If I tap,
Selected.
and that has been selected. Now I can go back.
Google Discover.
So I am on home page 6, and of course, it doesn't have anything to say. Now, if I swipe from left to right from the middle of the phone,
Home screen, page 5 of 6.
I am on page 5. If I swipe from right to left,
Home screen, page 6 of 6, default page.
6, and it says is my default page. So what that means is that if I start my phone, I'm going to be on a blank page. There's no need to do that now, but trust me on this one, when you do, you'll be starting on a blank page when you log onto your phone. Now, let's say we want to remove this page. Of course, you do the same thing we did, and that's doing the pinching movement. And you squeeze two fingers together.
Home screen, default page. Change to home screen edit mode, page 6 of 6.
So I just pinched that page 6. And now, near that top, we got those two buttons. They're set as default, and there's a remove. I'll tap on remove, and it should remove the blank page I just created.
Page 6 of 6, remove, button.
Tap here.
Page 5 of 5.
And that
Home
home
screen,
page 6
page 5
is
of
gone.
5, default page.
I only
Home
have
screen, page 4 of 5,
page
default
5,
page.
and it tells me my page 5 is my default because the last page now becomes the default. Now, if I want to set it back to page 1 as my default, for example, then I go to page 1, for example.
Page 1 of 5.
I could tab here on page 1 of 5, or you can swipe to page 1 of 5.
Home screen,
I just
page
tap.
1 of 5.
And now that I'm on page 1 of 5, it doesn't translate to mean that page 1, now rather the home screen 1, is now my default. That home screen is still my default. Now, in order to make my home screen 1 the default, I will need to do that pinching gesture. And once I'm on this page 1, then I tap on that set page 1 as the default. I'll show you what I'm talking about by indicating that it's not my default, because it's not saying my default. If I move my finger to the right,
Page 2 of 5.
and if I move back to the left,
Page 1 of 5.
it doesn't say it's the default. Now, if I keep going to the right to page 5, it will tell me default page. Here's what I'm talking about.
Page 2 of 5.
Keep going.
Page 3 of 5.
Keep going.
Page 4 of 5.
One more.
Page 5 of 5. Default page.
Page 5 is my default page.
Person seen. Front
Now,
door doorbell.
I'm going to do that squeezing or pinching and set the page 1 as my default. Now that I've done that, at the bottom, of course, we're going to see
Wallpaper and style. But themes. But widgets. Settings. Button.
And now near the top, those two buttons, we got the set as default and remove page.
Not selected. Default page.
If I tap here,
Selected.
and now that page 1, home screen 1, is now my default. And below that,
Page 1 of 5. Remove. Button. In pager.
there's a remove button. Now I need to exit the editing of the home screen by doing a back gesture.
Google. Bard mobile.
It's placing me on the first icon on my home page 1. Now, if I put my finger in between the items found between the last row of icons and the dock, I'll find those pages, and if I touch page 1, it will say default page. Here's what I'm talking about.
Page 1 of 5. Default page.
Now we hear page 1 of 5, default page. If I move right or swipe right till I get to page 5, it's not going to say default anymore. Here's what I'm talking about.
Page 2 of 5. Page 3 of 5. Page 4 of 5. Page 5 of 5. Current page is last page.
So, page 5, home screen 5, is no longer my default. Rather, the home screen 1 is my default.
Page 4 of 5. Page 3 of 5. Page 2 of 5. Page 1 of 5. Default page.
There you have it. That's my default. Now, the last thing I want to show you before handing it over to the podcast crew is how to create a folder. So you could just simply long press an icon and drag it atop one and just drop it. For example, I got Bard here.
Bard mobile.
That's the first icon on my home screen. So I could long press.
Bard mobile. Bard mobile. Out of pager. Google
and if
Discover.
I move my finger,
Create folder with NF scanner.
move to the left,
Create folder with CX File Explorer.
I move it downward.
Create folder with Lookout.
So let's go ahead and create a folder using that Bard mobile app.
Lookout.
I just let go on Lookout, and now it opened the folder and it's sitting on Lookout. If I move my finger to the right,
Bard Mobile.
Bard Mobile. If I close it by doing a back gesture
Folder closed.
and putting my finger down where the folder is,
Folder.
it simply says folder. I tap here.
Lookout. Out of pager.
And now that I'm here where the icons are, near the top, we've got
Folder name. Edit box.
folder name. You tap here to give it a name. For example, let me call it Big Dog.
Folder name. Showing English. Capital P. Voice input.
Big Dog.
Voice input stopped.
I just dictated Big Dog and double tap to stop the voice dictation. If I put my finger down,
Big Dog. Edit box. Editing. Window home.
there is the name of my folder I just created that contains both the Lookout and the Bard Mobile. Now that I'm done with adding that name, at the bottom of the keyboard is a Done button.
Done.
Now that I've tapped on Done, I also want to mention here that below that folder name, we got a couple buttons. We got, before getting to the one on the very last right, we've got
Add apps to folder. Button.
Add apps to the folder, and to the right of that,
Select folder color. Button.
you can select a color for the folder. So if I tap on,
Add apps to folder. Button.
and I tap here,
Navigate up. Button.
now what this does is that it opens up your app drawer where you can choose an app to add to that folder you just created.
AirDocs not selected. Add voice not selected. 3D Earth Pro not selected.
And let's say
Abilify not selected.
I select something like this, I double tap,
Abilify selected.
and you could add more to it. Let's say I want to add another one.
Accessible Android not selected.
Let's say I want to add the accessible Android app.
Accessible Android
Double
selected.
tap. And so now I've added two. If I put my finger near the top left corner,
Navigate up. Button. 2 of 200 selected.
I am told 2 of 200 selected. And now, to finish the selection process, I should tap on the Done button at the very bottom of the screen, right in the middle.
Done button. Out of grid.
Tap there.
Big Dog. Edit box. Folder name.
I'm back to the Big Dog folder, and I can look around and see how many icons I have in this folder.
Lookout.
Let's look out.
Bard Mobile.
Bard,
Abilify.
Abilify,
Accessible Android.
and Accessible Android. And that's how you go about adding something to a folder or creating a folder. And you can always add to it by simply dragging it over and dropping it onto that folder. Now you can decide to rename the folder later on by simply long pressing it, and you'll find the rename or change the name of the folder. I'll now hand it back to the podcast crew as we'll deliberate on these things.
I'm very pleased to hear the pinching gesture get such high profile. That doesn't work to bring up home screen settings on other launchers, does it? You have to find a blank area of the home screen. You may or may not
Doesn't it
have
work
to.
in MIUI? Didn't you say that? It works.
Does it work in MIUI?
Yeah,
I don't use it. I use third-party
It works
launcher.
on Pixel Launcher
Yeah.
as well.
It does work on Pixel as well. So the pinching thing, Ed, is something that I know you like the pinching, and I don't
Yeah.
want to go there, because
Yeah.
you know what you pinch.
Yeah,
the
when you
most.
fool.
Yeah, even I like it. Even I like it.
That's
But-
that's that gesture,
Yeah, exactly. But so the whole idea, because if you can't use or take advantage of that actions on a Samsung device that is running not the newer version, if you're not on the beta, then that pinching does come in handy. And to be honest, I kind of like that pinching to manage that home screen. But I think overall, another thing we didn't mention, or I didn't mention, is that, you can long press an app, and if you let go, it pops up the actions, shortcuts, rather than saying actions, it pops up the shortcuts there. So you can find things like select, or you can find things like remove or uninstall, just in as much as you would on a Pixel device. So that's another thing that you can use in that home management. So I actually like the One UI. I think I'm falling in love with it more and more when I
So
look
how
at the
do you go
Pixel
with
launcher.
shortcuts on Pixel? Because as you said on One UI, you just long press and you see the shortcuts.
Oh yeah, it works like that on the Pixel.
Mhm. Yeah.
It does. But frankly, I like the One UI home management. Most especially, I could set which one to be my default. I haven't tried doing that on my Pixel, so it's something I should try. But I kind of really like that with the One UI. I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving the One UI. I think it's a great launcher. I wish Samsung makes it available for other phones.
I use it and I
Yeah.
like it. It's just a Samsung device, you know.
Yeah, and
And
you
I-
mentioned that the default home screen comes up when you first boot your device, but you can also, whatever you have set as your default home screen, you can do it if you do the home gesture twice. So if you do the home gesture, whether it be like pressing a home button, swiping up from the bottom with 2 fingers, or using TalkBack's home gesture, it will take you to the last homepage you were on. But if you do the gesture a second time, it will take you to your default homepage. So you can always get directly to that default page by doing the home gesture twice.
Nice. I think on most launchers that just opens the apps list, doesn't it? So it's good that Samsung takes you to your default page. And the shortcut thing, I think, is possibly standard. It certainly is on Hyperion anyway. If you double tap and hold, it'll pop up the app
But
shortcuts.
like, do you guys use these up drawer on your One UI, or you just use the standard home screen?
And on Samsung, I mean, I'd change it immediately. So I can't remember. Samsung has the search bar on the home screen, but you can take it off, doesn't it?
That's true. That's another thing.
But I like
And
that.
you can take out the weather widget as well. I know some people say, "Hey, I don't want to see the search bar, on a Pixel phone." It's a visual thing. But if you
Mhm.
can't see it, well, I don't know that it matters, but anyway, I wish Google would allow us to either resize or remove it, just like one could do on a Samsung device. So, like I said, there are so many perks going on for the One UI that when you look at it, actually, the One UI is not a bad UI at all. I really like it.
Yeah, I actually have my search bar. Like, I do like having the search bar on the home screen. I just don't like it at the bottom. I move mine to the top on my Samsung phone.
Okay,
That
do
way I
you
have
mean the
more
search? Do you mean the
icons at
search
the bottom.
for the Finder or the Google search? Because I like the Finder.
No, the
Google
Google
search.
search.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I wanted to mention, Warren, you touched on how if you're running 13.5, or what Samsung calls 13.5, you don't have actions as a reading control, but I just want to remind people that you can still use actions if you want. The launcher does support actions. You just, in order to get to them, you'd have to pull up your talkback menu, or if you have a gesture assigned to actions specifically, it'll open up a list of actions. So if you're one of those who prefer to use actions for things like moving an app or creating folders, if that's easier for you than double tapping, holding, and then sliding your finger around, you can still get to the actions. There's just that extra step of bringing up a menu.
Exactly. So you could assign a gesture that you could use for the actions, or you could go to the talkback menu if you add it to the talkback menu and tap on that, and then of course it's going to bring up something called actions, and you could tap on that to do that. So yeah, good reminder there, John.
This is the Spotlight segment. Stay tuned for premium interviews, device unboxing, and more.
And now we come to our Spotlight section, and I'm very pleased to say it's another unboxing. This time, Bernard Hemmings unboxes his new Samsung Galaxy XCover6 Pro.
Hi, my name is Bernard Hemmings, welcoming you to the unboxing of the Samsung Xcover6 Pro. Okay, so I have the box in front of me on the desktop, and I'm about to flip it over so that the box can be opened. So you turn it so that the lid is facing down towards the desktop, and the bottom of the box is pointing towards the ceiling. Okay, so now if you feel the bottom of the box, one end has a rectangular sticker. You want to face this to the right hand end of the box, so if you need to turn the box around so that the sticker is on the right hand end. Okay, now next to that sticker, right in the corner, is one piece of tape, and at the diagonally opposite end, near the other corner, is the other piece of tape on the other side of the box. So you want to run a knife between the box and the lid to cut the tape. If you try and peel the tape off the box, you'll end up damaging the cardboard box material. Okay, so we've cut the tape, and that separates the box from the lid. So turn the box back over, and you should just lift the lid straight off. Okay, now you'll find the phone is wrapped in this plastic sheet material to protect it. So we take the phone out and turn it over. You'll find that the material, there is a flap which unfolds like an envelope down one edge of the plastic sheeting. There is a small similar bit of adhesion at each end of the plastic sheet, but that will come unfolded when you undo the edge to free the phone. The phone should just slide out of that plastic sheeting now, so we can put the plastic sheeting aside. Now, if you feel the phone, the top end of the phone has the earphone socket and what they call the top key, which is one of the programmable keys. To the left-hand side of the phone is the Xcover key, which again is programmable. The bottom edge of the phone has the USB-C socket, and beside that it's a speaker. On the other side you have the power key, which is a side key, which is again reprogrammable, and above that we have the two volume keys. Okay, now put the phone down on the desktop with the screen facing down. Be aware there is no screen protection with this phone. My previous S10e had a factory fitted screen protector. This phone does not. Okay, so now if you locate the camera lenses on the back of the phone, and beside the two circles, between them almost, there is a little square indentation, which is the flash and of course your torch or flashlight. Now, if you slide your finger across the back of the phone from that flashlight across to the other edge, you will feel a small slot where the back curves slightly to meet the side. This here slot is to remove the back of the phone, and you just lift that slightly with your fingernail. That will unclip the back, the first catch. Now you just slide your finger between the back of the phone and the phone itself going around down one side along the bottom, and probably at this point it'll pop up. Otherwise you may have to go up the other side a bit. But generally, once you've undone one side and the bottom, the other two edges, the back will just pop off. If you grab the back and just pull it, once you've undone that little slot, you'll probably end up breaking the catches that hold the back in place, so I wouldn't do that. Okay, so once you take the back off, you can feel the interior of the phone, the battery compartment, and the SIM and SD card slots. The SD card slot is at the top, directly above the SIM card tray. They are both at around about the centre of the battery compartment, that is near just back from the top edge of the phone, of the battery compartment. Now, before you put the battery in, the SIM card slot, as I say, you need to put the SIM card into that slot first. You can't insert the SIM card with the battery in place. So you insert the SIM card, the contact side is uppermost, according to sides of people that have told me that. And the beveled corner is towards the top, so that slides into the slot first. Now, if you want to put the SD card in now, you can do so, or you can insert the battery and then put the SIM card in, whatever you prefer to do. Okay, now so peel in the box and you will feel the square battery. If you remove that from the box and feel it carefully, you will find that the bottom edge of the battery is grooved, and on one side, on one surface of the battery, one of the larger surfaces, we'll call it the top, has like a circuit board under the cover of the battery. You can feel this square or almost rectangular shape beneath the battery cover. This goes in so that is uppermost in the phone. So, and on the top edge of the battery, you will feel that it is flat and the contact should be on the right-hand side. So you put the battery into the phone on an angle, so you tip the battery forward as you put it into the battery compartment, so that the top edge makes contact first. Then you lower the bottom edge of the battery in, and the battery should just drop into the compartment. Okay, so the battery's in place, and you want to insert or put the back on, unless you want to put the SD card in now. If you do, the SD card goes into the slot. It's very easy. The edge of the SD card goes uppermost. So the little lip on the SD card is not the end that you put into the SD card slot. That should protrude from the slot, so to make it easy to remove and insert. Okay, so slide that SD card in. Now for the back, you just feel the hole where the camera lens is on the back. You'll notice the hole that goes around the camera, so you put it gently on the phone and you press the edges of the back along each side, and you'll hear it click into its slots and lock into place. Go around the phone making sure that all the little catches are locked, as it were. So you gently put pressure on the back edge and go right around the phone until you make sure that the number of catches, that the back is then flat against the phone. Okay, so now we come to the most exciting bit of it, I suppose. So you hold the side key in, that is the key below the volume controls, and you also hold the volume up key, so you press both those keys together. After the small, and hold them down. After the small vibration, there will be a few seconds, and then there'll be a much larger duration of vibration to tell you, to let you know that you are enabling accessibility. After a while, the talkback message should come up telling you to keep holding these keys until you hear a beep if you want to enable accessibility. So you do that, and then the next thing after the beep, the next thing you should hear is the start of the talkback menu, as it were, the tutorial, and that has 5 pages. So that's really all there is to the unboxing. Just remember that the little hole for the back to open the back is directly opposite the flashlight on the back of the phone. So you go across the back to the other side, away from the camera, and just as the back turns to meet the side, you'll feel the fingernail slot. Okay, so that's the end of part 1, the unboxing of the phone, and now I'll do a small review on the phones, the good points and the bad points. Thanks very much. I hope you found this interesting and helpful.
So the Xcover, these are Samsung sort of ruggedized offerings, aren't they? Quite popular with folks working outdoors and things like that.
They are indeed. And thanks, Bernard, for taking the time to do this. We truly appreciate you unboxing this for the podcast.
Yeah, it's a neat little phone. It has a lot of features that people miss on phones, like I think it has the fingerprint reader, the power button. It has customizable buttons. It has a removable battery, memory card for storage. It has headphone jack. So it's a neat little phone.
Exactly. And so for a rugged phone, I think it has everything. So if you are one of those that kind of dreaming for the good old SD card, this would be the one to go for, as well as that headphone. I can't even say the word headphone jack. You could go for that phone, because then it's reminiscent of the old times, isn't it?
Yeah, and you'll have
I
slightly
don't
more
think we
dollars
get.
left over if you do that than if you go for the Sony Xperia. Because the Xcover is cheaper.
Yeah, you could buy 2 of them.
Exactly. You don't need
Get
to
your girl
spend all
one
that
too.
moolah. Yeah.
Or boy.
I don't think we get this phone in India because I've never even heard of this phone.
Yeah, they're used by, I don't know if you remember, back in episodes, I think it was in the 60s, we had Brendan Lewis and Sharon Jodonasso on talking about In Your Pocket, the reading newspapers and books and stuff on a modified phone, and they used the Xcover, albeit not the 6. I think when we talked to them, it was either 4 or the 5. So they used them for that because it's a excuse me. They use it for that because it's a fairly simple, rugged phone. Well, it's not a simple phone; it's a good phone, but it can stand a bit of stuff. So it probably seemed a good candidate phone to use.
Coming up next, our app of the week, in which we show you how to use the app and review its accessibility. You can submit your recording for this segment. Email it to us at contactus@blindandroidusers.com.
And now we turn to our app of the week, and Warren demonstrates WebApp, which I think is a really interesting concept. Take it away, Warren.
Hi, Warren here for Blind Android Users Podcast, and for episode App of the Week, I'll be demonstrating an app called WebApp. In other words, I'm demonstrating an app that you could use in transforming a web page into an app. So if you're having trouble with a web page, for example, and you would rather use an app for it, this may be what you're looking for. It's basically a PWA app, basically a progressive web app, and it's easy to create apps. I will be demonstrating this using my S21 running Android 13 and TalkBack 13.5. I am on my home screen now and will now navigate my way to WebApp.
WebApp.
Here is WebApp, and I'll tap to activate.
WebApp. Button. Out of pager. Detected. Icon. Settings. Button.
We are landed on an icon that's called Settings, and that's found near the top right corner of the phone. Now, to the left top part, all that we got is the name of the app.
WebApp.
Now, below that button on the top right, that's Settings, we've got a couple buttons, or rather 3 buttons. The first buttons we got,
Create Group. Button.
Create Group. In other words, if you tap on this, you can create a folder where you could add apps of similar functions to it. To the right of that, we've got
Create App. Button.
Create an app. So, for example, you got a website that you want to turn into an app. This is where you tap on to create such an app. Now, below that, we have an icon that simply says More.
Detected. Icon. More. Button.
And we'll be talking about these buttons. First, though, let's get started, by the first one on the top right corner, and that will be the one that says Settings.
Detected. Icon. Settings. Button.
I'll go ahead and tap.
WebApp. Navigate up. Button.
Tapping on Settings, here's what we got.
Use AdBlock. Block unwanted content. Switch on in list.
Because if you have web pages, for example, there are ads and all of that, but this will block those for you. Below that,
External links in browser. Open external links in system browser. Switch off.
and that's all we have in the settings. Let's go back.
WebApp. Detected. Icon. Settings. Button. Out of list.
I already talked about the create group and create an app. The last one we want to talk about, that is the last button, has to do with what I'm going to show you next. Now, below all of this, starting from the top on the left, we got
My Apps.
My Apps. And below that would be apps that you have created. I haven't created one yet. Now, below that, we've got
Popular.
Popular. So these are apps that come with this app by default. And then that More button there that we saw earlier, you could use that in changing the name of this Popular heading or moving it up to My Apps area and More. Let's tap on that More so you see what I'm talking about.
Detected. Icon. More. Button. Pop-up window. Rename. In list.
We hear rename. So if I tap here, I will be renaming Popular to something else that I would rather name it to. Next.
Move up.
Move up. That is, if I want to trade it places with My Apps and have that be the one that comes near the top instead of My Apps, then I tap there to move it up. Next.
Move down.
I could move it down if it was near the top where the My Apps is located. I could change it back to move it back down.
Remove.
Or I could remove that. If I remove it, then the heading or the text that says Popular will be gone. I'm going to go back.
Detected. Icon. More.
Now, below popular, we have apps that come by default. In other words, we have a bunch of apps here that are here on by default, and they are arranged in rows. We got 4 to each row. Here's what I'm talking about. Row 1, we got
Facebook. Row 1. YouTube. Column 2. Telegram. Column 3. Instagram. Column 4.
now the next row below that, starting from the left,
ChatGPT. Row 2. Twitter. Column 2. Gmail. Column 3. Discord. Column 4.
and now the last row, starting from the left,
Skype. Row 3. Column. Teams. Column 2. PayPal. Column 3.
and the last item,
WhatsApp. Column 4.
WhatsApp. That's all that you have. Now, I do want to mention here in passing that you can actually remove these things if you didn't want any of these. So in other words, if you want to remove WhatsApp, you want to remove Facebook, or any of these, all that needs to happen is to long press on it and go find remove. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This long press on Facebook, for example.
Facebook. Row 1. Column 1.
And I'm going to double tap and hold to long press.
Pop-up window. Settings. In list.
Tapping or long pressing on Facebook, we heard settings.
Clone.
I can clone it.
Add to home screen.
I could add it to the home screen.
Move to group.
I could move it to a group. For example, if I've created a group for things relating to Facebook, I could move it to that group.
Remove.
Or I could remove it. That's the last item. Let's go ahead though and look at what the settings entails. And the settings simply will give you the ability to rename it if you want to change its name from Facebook to something else that makes sense to you. You tap on the settings. Here's what I'm talking about.
Settings.
And I'll tap on settings.
WebApp. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Tapping on settings. Here's what we got.
Facebook. Edit box. Name.
You can tap here to change the name to whatever you like.
https://m.facebook.com/ edit box URL.
And that's its URL.
Icon.
And then next we got icon.
Custom icon. Button.
You could tap on custom the icon. These are visual stuff.
Button. Unlabeled. Detected. Icon. Facebook.
So it tells us this icon looks like Facebook.
Detected. Icon. Facebook. Button.
That one also says
Detected.
Facebook.
Icon. Facebook. Button.
But these are icons with different colors that represent Facebook. So this is something visual. If you're not into visual stuff, we don't need it. All you can do is rename it if you wanted to. I'm going to go back.
WebApp. Facebook. Column 1.
Now let's go to the one that makes the most sense, and that would be the creating of an app. So we move back toward the top, just below the settings on the top right, and below that we find that create an app.
Create app. Button. Out of grid.
And I'll tap here.
URL. Edit box. Create app. English US QWERTY shown.
So here we're being asked for the URL of the web page. For this demonstration, I'll be utilizing the Blind Android Users website. So I'm going to type in the web address for our website.
H T T P S symbols show toolbar function /
And I'm going to change to letters.
symbol keyboard page text show toolbar functions button.
And now I'm going to type Blind Android Users.
B L I N D A B N S D R O I D U S E R S period C O M.
All right, I just typed in blindandroidusers.com. I'll now move my finger up to the edit field and see if I got it.
https://blindandroidusers.com. Edit box. Editing. URL.
And below that, we've got two buttons. In the middle, so we got cancel, and to the right of that, we got create or something to that effect.
Cancel. Button.
There's the cancel, and to the right of that,
Create. Button.
create. I'll tap here to create.
Keyboard hidden. WebApp. Create app. Button.
All right, so now if I move my finger near the top from the left below my apps
My apps.
and moving my finger down,
blindandroidusers.com. Column 1. In grid. 1 row. 4 columns.
I got blindandroidusers.com. Now remember, you can change the name. So for example, if I want to change its name to simply say Blind Android Users, then I will need to long press that and go change the name. I'll now tap to activate and see where it takes us.
WebApp. We like cookies. We like cookies, but need your consent to share. Heading level 5.
And here's talking about cookies,
Accept. Button. Accept.
and you can accept
Cookie settings.
or
Button.
you can tap on cookie settings. I'm going to tap accept for
Accept.
the time being.
Button.
All right, so here we are.
Blind Android Users Podcast logo. Graphic.
And if I move my finger down,
Blind Android Users Podcast. Heading level 2.
and I'm just going to jump all the way toward the bottom where we got buttons like tabs and things like that. So toward the bottom, we got
Subscribe. Link.
subscribe,
Feedback. Link. Social media. Link. Podcast. Link. Articles. Link. In row. Videos. Link. Downloads. Link. Show notes. Link. Rumble videos. Link. In row. 4 items.
and you see we got all the different URLs that we have on our web page. So let's say I go to podcast, for example,
Podcast. Link. In row. 4 items.
and I tap.
Blind Android Users Podcast. Demystifying Android Accessibility. WebView. Out of row.
And now, putting my finger in the middle, I'll see all the episodes that we have. Starting from the latest,
Episode 141. History of the Samsung UI and Android 14 Beta 5.1.
And moving on.
Play. Button.
below that is a play,
August 19th, 2023.
and it tells you the date.
Middle dot. 1 hour 31 minutes.
And I'm just moving my finger or swiping to the right.
Middle dot. Listen later. Link.
Let's listen later,
View terms. Link.
view the terms.
Blind Android Users Podcast Episode 140. Android 14 Beta 5. And Smart Vision 3. Blind Android Users Podcast Episode 139. 2020. Blind Android Users Podcast Episode 138. Blind Android Users Podcast Episode 137. Conclusion
You
of
got
the
the
Play Store
drift.
exploration.
Now,
and the
let's
Nothing
say
to
I want to
Phone
tap on one
Play.
of these,
Button. Out of list.
or just tap on play. If I tap on play below episode 141,
Acast Embed Player F5.
from the combined crew of Blind Android
And now
Users
I'm gonna
.com
tap on
and
pause because it
accessible
becomes a
Android.com,
pause.
It's time for your
Pause,
favorite
pause.
Android podcast. And
Seek back. Button.
there's the seek back.
Seek forward. Button.
And
010. Button. 1 hour 31 minutes.
I've played it for 10 seconds. That's a demonstration of the web app. I hope you like it.
Do you use this a lot?
Well, I just used it to try to see what it is like. And, frankly, like I indicated, if one is having a problem with a website, you're finding it hard to navigate a website, probably this app would be what you would need in simplifying the interface of the web page you're having problem with. And I kind of liked it, using it on our web page, blindandroidusers.com, and as a practice, and I kind of liked it.
Yeah. I think I'll definitely be giving it a play. I haven't had a look yet, but one of the ones I'm going to check out.
And now the Jieshuo, or what Austin refers to as the Joshua screen reader, aka commentary screen reader, CSR. This is where some feature of this screen reader is demonstrated.
And finally, we have our next commentary segment, and Karene shows us various different navigation settings.
Hi. Another change to Jieshuo, and this time it's related to moving between granularities or reading controls in TalkBack, which are the navigation types. Let's go to Jieshuo settings.
Main menu. Jieshuo settings. Jieshuo Plus.
Then operation settings.
Feedbacks. Operation settings. Operation settings.
Then
Gestures default settings. Gestures default settings.
Gestures default settings. And we have this new section, which is
Default navigation gestures style global alternative granularity navigate. Default back button.
Default navigation gesture style. Here I can specify the way that I want to use, or the gestures that I want to use to move between granularities or navigation types. It will tell me the name of the way that I'm using. Let's see what we have.
Web view default 2. Default swipe down.
We have two default and default 2, which are not containing gestures to navigate between granularities. And we have 4 styles that are for web views only, and 4 styles that are global, which will mean that they will work in all views.
Web view default swipe down / up to move the focus, and right / left to perform shortcut gestures unchecked.
After each name, you will hear a short description. And this default, here in this default style, you swipe up and down to move between items on the screen, and use right and left swipes to perform shortcuts, which are those shortcuts that you use to answer and end calls, and use them to press certain buttons when they are on the screen, as well as to navigate in some lists like in YouTube, when you can navigate quickly between the names of the videos instead of swiping to hear the actions for this video and then the name of the other video. So let's move to the second style, which is
Web view basic granularity navigation. Swipe right / left to switch navigation type in web views, and down / up to move within the selected type unchecked.
This one is only related to web views, so it will not work other than in web views. You swipe right and left to move between navigation types like characters, words, sentences, and you swipe up and down to move in the specified navigation type. So if you choose character, you swipe up and down to move to move to the next character, and up to move to the previous one.
Web view alternative granularity navigation. Swipe down then up or up then down to switch navigation type in web views, and swipe right / left to move within the selected type. Use down / up swipes to move focus unchecked.
This is also related to web views, and it's the web view alternative granularity navigation. Here, you swipe down then up, or up then down, to move between navigation types. Right and left swipes are used to move in the selected navigation type, and swiping up and down to move the focus.
Global Basic Granularity Navigation, swipe right/left to switch navigation type in all views, and down/up to move within the selected type unchecked.
The same one that is used in the web views, but now it's the Global Basic Granularity Navigation. This means that this will work everywhere. So whenever you select a global style, it will work in web views and in non-web views.
Global Alternative Granularity Navigation, swipe down then up or up then down to switch navigation type in all views, swipe right/left to move within the selected type. Use up/down swipes to move focus unchecked.
The same one that I talked about in web views, the alternative one that's using swiping down then up or up then down to move between navigation types. Now I have
Default 2, swipe right/left to move the focus, and down/up to perform shortcut gestures unchecked. Items from 5 to 10, 10 items in total.
So as you will notice, the difference is in the use of up and down swipes or right and left swipes. So in the first default one, swiping up and down was to move between elements, on-screen elements. Whereas here, it's the opposite. So swiping up and down is to perform the shortcuts, and swiping right and left is to move between the elements on the screen.
Web View Basic Granularity Navigation 2, swipe down/up to switch navigation type in web views, and right/left to move within the selected type unchecked.
Here, this is the basic 2, which is related to web views only. And also, it's the opposite. So, swiping up and down is to move between navigation types, whereas swiping right and left is to move in the selected navigation type.
Web View Alternative Granularity Navigation 2, swipe down then up or up then down to switch navigation type, and swipe down/up to move within the selected type. Use right/left swipes to move focus. Unchecked.
Again, we had the Web View Alternative Navigation, Granularity Navigation, and we have the Web View Alternative Granularity Navigation 2.
Global Basic Granularity Navigation 2, swipe down/up to switch between navigation types in all views, and swipe right/left to move within the selected type unchecked. Global Alternative Granularity Navigation 2, swipe down then up or up then down to switch navigation type in all views, and swipe down/up to move within the selected type. Use right/left swipes to move the focus checked.
There are things that you should pay attention to when selecting your navigation or preferred navigation style. The 2 items after the first default are related to this default, and the 2 items that are after the second default, which is the default 2, are related to this default 2. What I want to say here is that when you select, for example, the Web View Basic, this will mean immediately that you have selected the default for the other views. So you will be moving between on-screen elements using up and down swipes, and right and left swipes are used to perform the shortcut gestures. Whereas if you, for example, select the basic 2 or alternative 2 in web views, you will be selecting immediately the default 2 in the non-web view windows. So you will be using right and left swipes to move between on-screen elements. Up and down swipes are used to perform the shortcuts. Another thing that you should pay attention to is in web views, when you have selected one of the web views, the 4 web views related navigation styles, if you have an edit box and you are dealing with text editing in a web view, the navigation style will switch to the default. So it will not be considered as web view in this instance. It will be switching to the default. So the gestures that are used to perform shortcuts will be now used to move between characters. And if you are using one of the alternative methods, which are using the up-down or down-up swipes to move between navigation types, it will stop working because up-down and down-up will be used for the default, or will be considered as the gestures to go to the top or to end. Of course, this will not be a problem when you're using the global styles, because it will work in all views. Also, currently, when you select one style or when you switch between styles, sometimes you may face some issues, so it's better to reload Jieshuo, turn it off, and then turn it on, and things should work normally after that. Of course, many people were using the option in general settings, which is invert swiping gestures, to let the moving between on-screen elements be with right and left swipes instead of up and down swipes. But now it will switch between 2 styles according to the way you prefer. So I'm now using the Global Alternative Granularity Navigation 2, which is by swiping up-down or down-up to move between navigation types, swiping up or down to move in the selected type, and swiping right and left to move between on-screen elements, which means that the gestures are inverted. The swiping gestures are inverted. So I will go to
Operation Gestures Default General Settings. General Settings.
General Settings, and then
TTS Allow Read Invert Swiping Gestures checkbox checked controls whether
I'll
the swipe
uncheck it.
gesture not checked.
And I'll see what's
Jieshuo TTS setting. Operation setting. Operation Gestures Default set. Gestures Draw button. Default navigation gestures style global alternative granularity navigation, swipe down then.
So it switched to the global alternative granularity navigation, which is the one that uses up and down swipes to move between on-screen elements, right and left swipes to move between or to move in the navigation type that I select. And the same thing will happen if I'm using the basic 2. For example, it will switch to the basic 1 when I uncheck the invert swiping gestures. So I will use again the global alternative navigation 2.
Edge gesture setting. Default navigation global basic default navigation cancel button. Global alternative granularity navigation 2. Gestures default settings. TTS general setting. Read usage hints check. Allow automatically read. Invert swiping gestures checkbox checked control. Back button.
It switched the checkbox from unchecked to checked. And I'm now using the invert swiping gestures.
Jieshuo. Operation setting. Operation settings.
How to customize the navigation types that are available?
Gesture scheme custom. Gestures default setting.
Again,
Gestures
in Gestures
default.
default settings.
Default navigation. Customize web page element navigation. Default. Headings. Links. Customize web page element.
Here I can determine the granularities or navigation types that should be included when I'm in a web view, like when I'm in Chrome, for example.
Customize web page. Default checked. Headings checked. Links checked.
Of course, other than the granularities or navigation types, I have a speech rate, media volume. So if I'm increasing something and I'm using the right and left swipes to move in the navigation type, so I increase via right swipe and I decrease via left swipe. And if I'm using the up and down swipes, I increase via down swipe and decrease via up swipe.
Buttons checked.
And I press OK when I'm done.
Gestures default. Customize web page. Customize standard view element navigation. Default. Button. Customize.
This is to customize what should be included as a navigation type in the non-web view windows. And I tap OK to finish when I'm done. Of course, to check something or to switch from checked to unchecked, I double tap, and to switch also from the unchecked state to checked state, I double tap as well.
Checkbox is unchecked. Checked. Unchecked.
If you don't want to stick to any of the navigation styles available, you can assign your own gestures and you can customize all the gestures to your own liking. However, if you are a free user, you can't customize the up, down, left, and right swipes. To navigate between navigation or to move between navigation types, you can assign gestures to next or previous navigation type. And to move in the selected type, you use next next element in the specified type or previous element in the specified type. And you can assign a gesture to the left shortcut and to the right shortcut and to the next or previous focusable element. Before I finish, I want to say that things are changing quickly in Jieshuo, so what's working now during this recording may work differently in the coming versions. And this had happened in the selection, text selection. So when this feature was introduced, the new selection, closing the selection mode would mean that you would deselect everything that was selected. So it was clearing the selection. However, now this is different. So closing the selection mode will not deselect what was selected, and you can act on the selection after closing the selection mode. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Karene.
All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us.
Austin, how do people get in touch with us?
To contact us, you can send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. You can join our mailing list by sending an email to blind Android users plus subscribe@groups.io. You can join our Telegram, Facebook, Discord, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The links for everything will be at the bottom of the show notes and also in the video description of the YouTube channel. And also the links are in the websites panel of the YouTube channels.
Well, that's it from us for this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Say bye-bye to the nice people, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye,
and
nice people.
And bye to the girls who didn't join us today. Shame on you
Yeah.
guys.
Shame on you,
Yeah.
girls. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good week.
Yeah, and it's a nice day. 9/9/23.
Yeah.
All the girls miss 9/9. That's such a shame.
And enjoy
Yeah.
back to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Work hard, don't get caught.
September's always a hard month for the ladies.
Yeah, the girls don't like September anyway, especially Fee and Miriam. So maybe that's why.
Wake me up when September ends.
Exactamundo. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.